Good afternoon, boys and girls. We're going to read another chapter from our read aloud book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I tried to raise the camera up a little bit higher. These angles are not flattering, so it's kind of hard to watch yourself on camera, but we do it for the kids, right? So where we left off, Mr. Willy Wonka, things are getting crazy. And remember, he was rushing them around the factory, talking about hot ice creams for cold days, and all these crazy inventions. And then we left off with the sign that said square candies that look round. So now they're going into that room because Mr. Wonka seemed excited about that. So here we go. Everybody stopped and crowded to the door. The top half of the door was made of glass. Grandpa Joe lifted Charlie up so that he could get a better view. And looking in, Charlie saw a long table, and on the long table there were rows and rows of small white square-shaped candies. The candies looked very much like square sugar lumps, except that each of them had a funny little pink face painted on one side. At the end of the table, a number of Oompa Loompas were busily painting more faces on more candies. "There you are," cried Mr. Wonka, "square candies that look round." "They don't look round to me," said Mike TV. "They look square," said Veruca Salt. "They look completely square." "But they are square," said Mr. Wonka. "I never said they weren't." "You said they were round," said Veruca Salt. "I never said anything of the sort," said Mr. Wonka. "I said they looked round." "But they don't look round," said Veruca Salt. "They look square." "They look round," insisted Mr. Wonka. "They most certainly do not look round," cried Veruca Salt. "Veruca, darling," said Mrs. Salt, "pay no attention to Mr. Wonka. He's lying to you." "My dear old fish," said Mr. Wonka, "go and boil your head." "How dare you speak to me like that?" shouted Mrs. Salt. "Oh, do shut up," said Mr. Wonka. "Now watch this." He took a key from his pocket and unlocked the door and flung it open. And suddenly, at the sound of the door opening, all the rows and rows of little square candies looked quickly around to see who was coming in. The tiny faces actually turned toward the door and stared at Mr. Wonka. "There you are," he cried triumphantly. "They're looking round. There's no argument about it. They are square candies that look round." And here's our picture. It's kind of hard to see. So, this is a little play on words. The candies don't look round like a circle. They look around like looking around the room. So these candies apparently have faces. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what he means here. So this is playing with the words, playing with the language. They look round. Square candies that look around. "By golly, he's right," said Grandpa Joe. "Come on," said Mr. Wonka, starting off down the corridor again. "On we go. We mustn't dawdle." "Butter scotch and butter gin," it said on the next door they passed. "Now that sounds a bit more interesting," said Mr. Salt, Veruca's father. "Glorious stuff," said Mr. Wonka. "The Oompa Loompas all adore it. It makes them tiddly. Listen, you can hear them in there now, whooping it up." Shrieks of laughter and snatches of singing could be heard coming through the closed door. "They're drunk as lords," said Mr. Wonka. "They're drinking butterscotch and soda. They like it best of all. Butter gin and tonic is also very popular." "Follow me, please. We mustn't keep stopping like this." He turned left. He turned right. They came to a long flight of stairs. Mr. Wonka slid down the banister. The three children did the same. Mrs. Salt and Mrs. TV, the only women now left on the party, were getting very out of breath. Mrs. Salt was a great fat creature with short legs, and she was blowing like a rhinoceros. "This way," cried Mr. Wonka, turning left at the bottom of the stairs. "Go slower," panted Mrs. Salt. "Impossible," said Mr. Wonka. "We should never get there in time if I did." "Get where?" asked Veruca Salt. "Never you mind," said Mr. Wonka. "You just wait and see." So that was a short chapter. We're learning a little bit more about Mr. Wonka. I have a couple of questions, and it's important to ask questions while you read, because you should have questions. Where is Mr. Willy Wonka going in such a hurry? Why is he rushing so much? And remember when I said before we started this book that Willy Wonka is one of the craziest, most famous characters in American history, I would say. I'm wondering if you're seeing that now. Would you agree with me that he's probably one of the craziest characters? I wonder how you feel about Willy Wonka. Do you like him? Do you not like him? And why that would be? Also, part of me feels a little bit sad for him in a way. He seems like he's trying so hard, and I kind of feel bad for him. So I just wonder how you think of Mr. Willy Wonka. I'll read another chapter to you tomorrow, and thanks for watching.